Hey, welcome back, everyone. It's me, Mr. 4K. So it's been how many days now? 7 days since official release of PS5 Pro. Now, keep in mind, I don't have PS5 Pro. I can't afford one, but I have done a lot of research in the past few days. I've been looking at various different opinions and you know from different individuals, different YouTubers, including Digital Foundry and others, and it's kind of a mixed bag, as expected, you know, from various different sorts of individuals who have spent time with the PS5 Pro, looking at these PS5 Pro enhanced games, especially the God of War Ragnarok, which has an interesting VRR variable refresh rate, 120 hertz option, which is welcomed. Um, but then that also makes you wonder, couldn't they do that on the PS5 original? You know, I'm not asking, like, okay, bump up the resolution. I'm simply asking, would this be something that would be possible with a PS5? I think to a certain degree, in my opinion, it is possible to do it 120 hertz VRR, but they might have to tone down the graphics a little bit. They might have to tone down the resolution. I mean, all of these questions goes through your mind, like like where, what is the whole point of PS5 Pro, and where does the PS5 Pro stands? And it's kind of like in a very weird, strange spot, if you ask me. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to tell people, hey, don't purchase PS5 Pro. What I'm simply saying is, I look at PS5 Pro right now based on what I have researched, based on what I have seen. I look at PS5 Pro as it's sitting in a very like a strange position where a lot of people are asking themselves, well, like, okay, so there's about 80, total of 80 plus PS5 Pro enhanced games. And out of all of those games, are we truly going to see that drastic difference, right? And that's the question here. Am I really going to see a drastic difference? Um, uh, you don't even. People have told me when you turn on the PS5 Pro and when you turn on the original PS5, Slim, it's even hard to tell which one's which. Like if you were to hide PS5 Pro and a PS5 Slim behind two televisions side by side, people would have a hard time guessing which one's running on a Pro and which one's running on a PS5 Slim. It doesn't even say like PS5 Pro, like, hey, you want a PS5 Pro. It just says PS5. So, what is PS5 Pro? What I have researched, and I'm trying to be candid, and I know that I don't have it, so my credibility based on what I'm saying here, it's only based on what I have researched from various other people and what they have said. So please take that in consideration. I mean, I don't have the console to tell you exactly how I feel, what I think, right? That will come next year when I officially have it. The whole point of this video is just to give you my initial observation, what I have researched so far. Now, I want to say this. $750 just for a digital version of a console with a 2 terabyte SSD. Hey, 2 terabytes is good enough, to have that extra storage. Having this boost of performance on your games, right? with a little bit of a higher resolution, having that steady frame rate, sure, you're going to benefit from that. There's no question about that. It's a welcome benefit. I'm not saying that it's not a welcome benefit, and I stated that even before the release of the console. I stated that it's a welcome benefit, but at what cost? And I think this is where Sony really need to reconsider, like, at what cost? I think Sony always had this issue when it comes to their products. They like to overprice everything. They're even charging you $30 for a stand, and then, $80 for a disc player. So the whole thing comes to like $850. I mean, that's a lot of money just for a console. And I think that Sony always had this issue when it comes to their products, because of their brand, kind of like Apple. When I look at Apple and when I look at Sony, I see no difference. The only difference is Apple is the American brand, Sony is the Japanese brand. That's the only thing that separates it. But in terms of their strategies, in terms of their formula on how they run their business, they run the business the same way. They're running it based on their trademark. Oh, it's Sony, so therefore you have to pay more because it says Sony on there, right? And I think that's the wrong way of running business. Why don't you just price the product based on the value? And when I'm looking at the price of a product, I'm looking at the price of the product based on the value. Like, what value does this product has? And based on the value, I can say whether or not it's worth the money. And I think everyone should do that, regardless of how much money you have. If you're super rich or you're making whatever 9 figures whatever a year, I don't care. It's not about that, how much money you have. It's about, hey, is this really worth my money? I could use that money spent somewhere else. And again, I don't care how much you're making. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, is this worth the money that Sony is asking for? And that is, it's a very legitimate question, even for a guy like me who's a Sony guy. I love Sony, but even I, as a Sony guy, has to ask this question: is it really worth $750? That's with the tax, and depending where you live in Canada, it's $850, maybe $950, depending where you are. And then you have to consider, buying a disc drive, and the stand if you want that stand. So you're looking close to $1,000, and then you gotta ask yourself a question. Oh man, $1,000. I mean, cut me some slack over here, Sony. So what I'm trying to say is this, without butchering this video any longer than it needs to be. Hear me out. Yes, all of these things are welcomed. PSSSR, which is the PlayStation Scaling Resolution technology, is definitely welcomed. But then you start asking a question: couldn't they have used this technology on the original PS5 Slim through AMD? That's a good question. They're using the same GPU, same CPU. The only difference is it's more overclocked CPU. And they're using 16 teraflops, and the Xbox Series X has 12 teraflops. Are you really going to see that much of a difference between Xbox Series X and the PS5 Pro? Because it has, 4 extra teraflops? Are those 4 extra teraflops really going to make a drastic difference between on how Indiana Jones looks on the Xbox Series X and how, Indiana Jones will look on the PS5 Pro enhanced version next year? Are you going to see that difference? Are you going to have to use the magnifying glass? Are you going to have to position a Hubble telescope to zoom in? People don't have time to do that. if you have to get close to a TV to see a difference, my friends, you're not seeing a difference. And that's the question I want to leave this video with is, even with this game, The Last of Us Part 1, am I going to see that difference? Playing The Last of Us Part 1 on PS5 Slim and playing it on a Pro? Or do I have to be super close to the television to see that difference? If I have to sit super close, then I'm not seeing a difference. With my 4K UHD Blu-ray player, Oppo UDP203, I can see a difference in a bitrate. I can see a difference in the quality. I can see a difference in how it reads the metadata from a HDR disc. I see a difference because it's a top-notch, high-quality Blu-ray player. I can see that difference. I don't know, honestly, if I will see that difference on the PS5 Pro. Like I said, next year when I finally am able to buy it, hopefully I'll find a job, hopefully I'll have money to do it, to buy it, I will let you know. Do I see that difference? But I don't really know, looking at what people are saying, and it's not like there's all positive reviews. Let's just be honest here. Let's not beat around the bush, guys. Let's just cut to the chase. Let's just cut to the chase. Let's just stop, beating around the bush. I don't have time for BS. I don't have time for false hype and all that crap. And I'm definitely not going to sugarcoat anything. So my question is this. Based on what I have researched, based on what I have heard from Digital Foundry and everybody else, it's mixed. And it's not 100% like, ooh, go and get this, go and buy this. What everyone it's essentially saying is, all of these features are welcomed, but it's a tough sell. It's a tough sell for what you are really giving us. It's a tough sell right now at the moment. I think PS5 Pro, it's a tough sell to convince people to spend $750 and of course buy a video game subscription and to PlayStation Plus and buy that stand and all of that, an extra controller. You're looking at the $1,000, roughly $1,000. That's a tough sell. Tough sell. And you got to ask yourself, well, what exactly are we getting here? Can I see a difference? Now, if you never had a PS5, here's what I'm going to say. I think PS5 Pro, it's an excellent choice for those of you who never had a PS5, right? But if you own a PS5 like I do, I don't know if it's worth, that extra cash. I just don't know at the moment right now, because it's not like, I watched a lot of guys, and I know this video is getting longer than it doesn't need to be, and I know I've been away for a few days because I've been researching about the PS5 Pro, and even the hardcore Sony fans are like saying, and they're not even justifying this. They did buy it, and they're like, man, it's hard to justify for me to tell people go and buy this. Even they're having a hard time like recommending it. And that's not good. If a hardcore Sony fans are having a hard time like recommending this console. So what I'm trying to say is this, it's a tough sell at the moment. We'll see what happens next year. Maybe next year we'll see developers take the full advantage of this console. I want to end the video by saying this. We got to give this console some time to develop. It's just came out recently. We got to give it some time. Maybe developers will figure out the way how to squeeze every ounce of power of the PS5 Pro with a 16 teraflops and PSSSR and the boost of that CPU. Maybe they'll be able to squeeze as much of every ounce of that power as possible. So we'll just have to wait and see till next year what they're able to achieve. Uh, Maybe next year we'll see the full potential, especially with the Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out. I think Grand Theft Auto 6 will be that great example of what are the differences between PS5 Pro and the Xbox Series X running the Grand Theft Auto 6, GTA 6 between Xbox Series X and the PS5 Pro will be the great example of which one handles it better. But all of this will depend on developers. Just remember that developers are the one that they will have to use and utilize that power of the PS5 Pro. So for right now, I don't know, man. It's just from what I have researched, everyone is saying the same thing. It's a tough sell at the moment. They're not saying don't buy it. They're not saying, hey, it's not worth it. What they're simply saying, the money that they're asking for this console, it's a tough sell. That's what they're essentially saying. It's a tough sell. But anyway, you guys let me know what you think. So I don't want to butcher this video any longer than it needs to be. I know it's already 16 minutes and there's so much I wanted to say here. So please forgive me for this video being 16 minutes. But I felt there's so much I needed to say here. Keep in mind, I don't have the console. But I have researched a lot. Man, I watched so many YouTubers, Digital Foundry, you name it. And they're all essentially saying the same thing. It's a tough sell. And these are some top tier YouTubers and some hardcore Sony fans. And they're not even justifying it. They're just simply saying it's a tough sell. So, anyway, you guys let me know what you think.